Welcome back to Andertons TV, ladies and gentlemen. Ben.
It's nice to be here.
It's a pleasure to see you. Surrounded by some wonderful looking acoustic guitars.
Very nice, yeah. These are the new Furch models. Excuse my pronunciation there.
It is, we're doing it, it's a hard K, is it, rather than
It is a
ch?
hard, I did look on the website on how to pronounce it with the Czech pronunciation, and I cannot do it very well with the rolled R's, so I'm going to go with Furch.
Well, Furch or Furch, whichever you prefer, is the brand we're talking about today. And I am entirely in your hands, Mr. Smith, because we got a little tip, so Anderton's got a little tip towards the end of 2024 that in the US, Furch was the fastest growing acoustic guitar line that they had. And I've always been interested in trying to source musical instruments that are from Europe rather than perhaps shipping them across from the US or from Asia, just purely and simply because, you know, less distance to travel.
Absolutely.
Hopefully save a bit of money on shipping and duties and things like that. But there's not a massive amount of guitars built in Europe, whether that's UK or
certainly
Europe.
not kind of large scale stuff anyway.
Yeah, no one with the brand of like a Martin or a Taylor or a Gibson or a Fender or whatever. So I was very interested to see what was all about the Furch thing. So what do we know? Tell us a little bit, and you'll see. I think what you'll see is Ben's done a bit of playing on everything here. Yeah. So these I'll just sort of intersperse in this video. I hope you enjoy it.
Yeah.
What do we know?
So a little bit of kind of history of the brand. Furch actually started back when Czech Republic was still part of Czechoslovakia, and it was, you know, under communist rule. And when Mr. Furch Senior started building guitars back in 1981, he started building kind of Ovation copies because it was very hard to get quality guitars in Czechoslovakia at that time. And he potentially was in a lot of trouble for doing it because of the regime. Personal businesses weren't allowed, so he was kind of making them undercover. They were being watched by the Secret Service and all this kind of stuff up until the Velvet Revolution in 1989, I think.
Right. Which
Which was when they could actually, you know, kind of openly start building guitars.
Yeah.
So it's a really kind of interesting backstory to them.
That's cool.
And yeah, it's an interesting company, really. They do a lot of very kind of technologically advanced things in their build processes, but also with an eye to kind of keeping the more hands-on approach. And having played through them for the first time this morning, I'm really impressed with them, actually.
Well, we're going to have a look through. We'll talk a little bit about some of the unique parts of the Furch range, which is things like how they do their neck joins is fairly unique. We'll talk about the electrics they've chosen, perhaps some of the different combinations of timbre. But before we do there, have you bought your sandwiches with you today?
Yeah, it was a bit of the M25 was busy this morning, so I bought myself a little packed lunch.
Nice.
Which, I'm gonna
nice. Well, yeah, let's have a little look.
Out here, and
oh, hello.
Hold on.
It's my favourite kind of sandwich. Now, this isn't a broken guitar, I hope, is it?
No, this is the Little Jane. Now, this is the first time I've seen this. I've watched the video on how to put it together.
So let's just say, for 100%, this is... Obviously, I knew it wasn't sandwiches in here, but we have not put this together yet. So this is a new thing live for you on camera. Let's see.
So this is the Furch Little Jane travel guitar. This is the neck, obviously, that comes out of the bag. Now, if
you're really, really small, do you just connect that direct to there?
That's it. So if we pull this out, untwist the strings.
So it's strung and everything.
It's strung, and it should, in theory. So now these two tines go into this hole on the end.
Now, I've seen guitars like this before, but where they're hinged in a way that the sort of the neck... I've never seen one where it's completely...
No. So now we've got the head back onto the neck.
Yeah.
And then in theory, this catch, I should be able to put the neck into the neck slot there, hold the neck there, pull it in, and then using this catch, come in and close it. And then...
Now you're going to tell me it's in tune and everything, aren't you?
Well...
Oh my God!
That's not bad.
That's nuts.
That is not bad. One string. That's not. I mean, that's okay.
Wow.
So this is the Little Jane. That's quite clever. I mean, let me get
quite clever.
I think that's hold on. That's amazing.
I'm speechless.
Wow.
So I love. Before we move on here,
look.
so this is clever because I've seen guitar companies put a hole here with the idea that if you're as the player, you obviously most acoustic guitars project out the front, which of course isn't necessarily ideal for if all you're doing is playing for your own joy. And by putting the hole here, you get a little bit of projection up here, which obviously from where, as a player, you get a little bit more. I love the sort of the dual purpose.
It's good, and there's a kind of securing bit inside the body of the guitar. So when you put the neck in there, it is held inside too.
I see what you're saying. There's like a little sort of rubberized sort of holder.
And then you can tuck, this is all kind of reinforced, so you can tuck the headstock in there, and then on the front you've got all of these kind of pouches to put your stuff in. You can take it as a carry-on.
If I was being hyper critical, it's not necessarily the catch isn't the most elegantly hidden. It's obviously fairly obviously a sort of a mechanical kind of catch here, but it's not like it's in the way. But the rest of the build, the join here where the headstock went on is pretty seamless.
Yes, and it plays nicely, and it sounds nice for a guitar that you can fit in a bag that size. I mean,
locking tuners?
The locking tuners are so that the strings don't unravel when you take the neck off.
Yeah, it's like a necessity, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's all solid wood as well, it's worth saying.
But what I meant was...
Yeah.
Where they do the veneer on the headstock and all the binding and stuff, the attention to detail, you don't really appreciate until you get it up close. And it's beautifully made.
I hadn't actually noticed. Have you seen the nut?
Oh, how cool. Again, to keep the strings in place.
String through nut.
You see what Ben's saying here? So it's like a through nut rather than a traditional strung over.
Yeah, that's very clever.
I mean, brilliant action and everything. Just straight out the...
Yeah.
Do you want to put your sandwiches away? Let's have the reverse now.
Okay,
let's see how easy it is to undo
So I've
it
done my gig. So let's. So I think we just do the reverse. We don't even have to detune it. You can just take the catch like that. That comes off. Fold that down. The headstock. Let's put the body in the bag, shall we? Before
put the body in the bag.
The body in the bag.
You've said that before. Now I'm worried. Oh, that's nuts.
And then that just goes in there. And the
neck,
I see
got its own little pocket.
Yeah, and the neck just pops through there, through the hole inside the body. Strings go underneath.
Oh, that's probably, what do I want to say? I mean, I think that's probably one of the most elegantly done travel solutions ever.
I think so. I'm just trying to put
it's so clever, isn't it?
That is really cool.
What does it weigh in its bag and everything?
Nothing.
Oh, literally nothing. That's fantastic. Very clever.
That's very cool.
I like. Oh, look, Pete's gone. He's going to do a gig immediately.
He's taking the train.
Oh, amazing.
Fantastic. So that's the little Jane. Again, all solid woods. While we're on the subject of travel guitars, have a go on this one. Because I played this and I was really impressed with this one. That has got, you were just talking about on the extra ports. If you look on the top shoulder bout of that one, it's got the Furch booster port, they call it. There's quite an interesting video on the website, the Furch website, where they were experimenting, because we haven't talked about the tops yet. They voice all of the tops for their guitars with a kind of fairly advanced system that they use. And during the kind of experimentation for dreadnoughts, they experimented with sound hole size to get the maximum amount of kind of resonance and vibration from a top they could, which led them to develop the booster port. I'm not going to go into too much detail because it's quite a long video, but it's very interesting. Basically, having a bigger sound hole and kind of more venting's the wrong word, on a guitar anywhere can increase the resonance and the output of it. I'm paraphrasing terribly, but that is their version of the booster port, and I really like it on that little travel guitar.
It's because you don't see it in the way. The very first, before almost like as I strummed that first chord, but whilst you were explaining, and I didn't realise it was there, there was a millisecond of my brain going, "Wow, that's like way bigger sounding than I thought." But actually, as soon as you said it, you realise that what you're just hearing the projection.
But it works out the front as well, not just for the player. I think like that's got a huge amount of low end response for such a teeny little guitar.
It's amazing to play. What sort of money are we doing on these smaller bodied ones?
This one is $869.
Okay.
There is a version. This has got the rosewood back and sides. There's a version with mahogany back and sides, which is £100 less.
Right.
So, but this has also got an Engelmann spruce top. I'm really impressed with this little one.
I got to be honest with you. Again, I'm immediately sort of thinking of that Sheeran Loudon, which is not dissimilar money. And
No.
I don't recollect those feeling as nicely made as these are.
I think I'm gonna say this is. I think this is the nicest travel guitar I've played probably ever.
What's the small Taylor? Because that's quite a lot less, isn't it? But that's nothing. That's not even in remotely the same kind of build.
I think a lot of the time when you're looking at the travel guitars, you know, you're dealing with laminate back and sides, and these are all solid, and because all of the Furch tops go through their kind of the thickening process where they really go into making sure the tops are as responsive as possible. So actually, whereas travel guitars can be a bit of a throwaway thing to take around the campfire, this is actually just a really nice small guitar.
I think it's beautiful. Do they do the Pioneer range with pickups as well, or is it all?
I think you can get the pickups in anything. What we've got here is a selection of the most popular models.
Right.
But if you go to the Furch website, there's so much variation available.
I guess because you can probably custom spec whatever, as you can go, can I have this feature on this model and all that sort
exactly,
of stuff.
Yeah. You can pick any of the woods, any electronics, any of the kind of extra bits.
I love the see-through scratch plate detail. That's a sort of
It's
a bit
nice.
of a Loudon-y thing, isn't it? But
It's
very
nice,
beautiful.
and it's a nice bit of wood. I love the finish on this. This is their satin finish. With the lacquer that they use, they developed their own lacquer because they weren't happy with the type of lacquer that you could get.
Right.
So they spent quite a lot of time and money researching a way to develop their own lacquer that was really hard, really resonant, and meant that they could apply it very thinly. So the gloss finish ones here, I think, have got about 10 coats before they're buffed. The satin finish have got about 45% less than that. So it's a really thin, open pore finish on this one, which I really like. I think it really helps the guitars kind of
I tell you what's interesting
active,
is,
which is lovely.
Obviously you're used to seeing on an acoustic guitar binding used on the front and back to obviously, I suppose, to sort of hide the join between the back and the sides on a guitar. Now obviously this hasn't got any binding on the back, and so the join is obviously totally visible.
Yeah.
And it's just exceptional level craftsmanship. The join is stunning.
They do. They use a lot of. As well as using CNC machines and stuff, they have a lot of automated processes for the buffing. When they developed the new lacquer because it's a harder lacquer, it takes a lot more work to actually buff it. So they developed a whole automated kind of robotic buffing process, and then it's finished off by hand. So a lot of this kind of they're a really interesting company with a lot of kind of forward-thinking ways of construction.
I think
constructing
that's,
guitars.
Honestly, I guess none of these guitars are cheap, inverted commas, but that is going to do phenomenally well. I think at that sort of £800 kind of bracket, I think there'll be a lot of interest in that.
I mean, I would.
Is that because everything is either cased or gig bagged, isn't it? So I assume something like that's gig bagged.
I think this has got a gig bag. Yeah, I think the high end ones come with a Hiscox hard case.
All right.
But even their gig bags are extra reinforced and they look really nice. I really like this one.
Yeah, that's superb. The next one that I want to ask about, to choose your favourite one, is they beyond the Pioneer, they start talking about colours, don't they?
Yeah.
So what have we got? Is it yellow is the next?
No, yellow is the top one.
Okay,
I think
sorry.
The order of kind of colours in terms of price, I think, goes violet, blue, then green, which we don't have any of, then yellow, which we do have some of. Then you hit the red range, which is the kind of exotic tone woods, which we don't have at the moment. But I'm, hoping we might. And then above that, you get to the Rainbow series, which is completely bespoke, custom made.
Pick your favourite violet one then, and we'll have a little look at some of
My
the features.
favourite violet one. Yeah, this is my violet favourite one. So,
okay. So what's your basic? Actually, spec-wise, it doesn't look dissimilar to the Pioneer, does it?
No,
so.
This is the Violet DER, which I think is I think is Engelmann Rosewood. I'd have to check on the spec sheet over there. It's got the LR Baggs Stage Pro Element pickup system in it. Mm-hmm. So you've got this on the top, which is not my favourite thing to see, but there we go.
Oh, you prefer them when you?
I prefer them when they're hidden away.
Yeah, yeah.
The finish on all of these is fantastic. Sound-wise...
Sorry, Ben, just a quick introduction. Yeah. Tell me about this composite neck reinforcement that I believe is on... I assume it can't be on the travel, on the...
It's not on the little J. No, I think it's on a lot of these. It's the CNR joint. It's the way, again, they're kind of technological advances they're making. The neck joint is obviously massively important on an acoustic guitar because it's where a lot of the vibration from the strings is transferred to the body, etc., etc. What they have developed is a system that has carbon rod reinforcement at the neck joint in a kind of metal bracket, I suppose. Mm-hmm. Then there are two bolts which hold the neck on, but there's also an active element, and I don't know if you can see. Well, we'll have to show shit.
Yeah, you can see that. You can see that hex.
There's a hex
bolt
that's sitting on an extra little block of wood, which is, I think they describe it as an expansion system. So basically, as well as having a very, very solid neck joint with a normal kind of adjustable two-way truss rod, you've also got the adjustment for the string action which comes from that active element. They don't say specifically, but I think what it is, it's a block of wood that's there to absorb or release humidity as the humidity changes, so the neck can move with the rest of the body to keep a consistent action no matter where you're traveling. So if you're doing a lot of traveling, or if you're in if you live in a place that goes from high humidity to low humidity, you shouldn't have any issues with your guitar.
So that very traditional sort of hump that you start to get where the neck meets the body, you're saying we're sort of consistently trying, the technology should remove the guitar from doing that over time?
Hopefully, yeah, because you've got the extra reinforcement from the carbon fibre, but then you've also got this extra kind of adjustment thing that you can do. I mean, it sounds great. It's, as dreadnoughts go... I mean, it's a Canon. It's
So if we're choosing in the violet range,
yes,
we should expect to see what satin finishes, pretty basic binding on the front, no binding on the back.
Yes, it's the kind of entry level for a guitar of this price is not really the right word, but it is there's kind of most unadorned
and
guitars.
Money wise,
this one is $11.49, which is it's a good price for an all solid guitar.
It's interesting what you decide you want to compare these to. So if you're comparing it to, say, a super top spec Chinese-made acoustic like the Alvarez Laureate,
yes,
you would say that is perhaps a simpler finish. It hasn't got all the beautiful herringbone, blah, 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 blah. But if you were comparing that to what you'd get from Martin or Taylor for $11.49, it's a whole nother level, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
wow.
It's very responsive. They all play wonderfully. The finish on them is all great. The fretwork's wonderful. I'm really impressed with them.
What's the... I'm seeing one relatively sort of, I don't know if that's contemporary, but, sort of that style of headstock versus the very traditional square.
Those
is that a range thing? Or?
Yeah, those are the square headstocks are the vintage range. So you've
Right.
got the colours range, which is the blues, yellows, greens, and then we've got the vintage range, which is your more traditional.
So within the colours, you can choose either vintage or
No, the vintage is a separate range from the coloured range. It does get a bit confusing. Most of the coloured range, I think all of the colours do a dreadnought, but mostly they're in the kind of grand auditorium cutaway style.
I think, obviously, as you can tell, Andertons is a relatively recent Furch dealer. So, yes, we're learning as you're learning.
Yes.
The Furch website is a great resource, and I'm guessing as the longer we do this, the more we'll become familiar with the models and the ranges and stuff.
The Furch website does have a kind of drop-down list of all the different whip combinations you can have, and there's a lot.
So that grand auditorium one over your shoulders there, is that still in the violet range?
This is the. Hold on, let me pull this out. So this is the Violet Deluxe GCEM, and this has got another couple of.
I was going to say, and that's not dissimilar dough. We're still around about the 1300 mark.
I believe so. I believe so. Yeah. And again, spruce top. This is the African mahogany back and sides. This one has the duo bevel, they call it.
I was going to say, it's not just the front one, is it?
No, I was going to say I've seen this one before, and they do this one, but on the back. They've got this rib cut, they call it.
I'm not sure I've ever seen that done.
I've not seen it on Acoustic, for sure. It's that kind of Strat style contour body.
How would that, where are you naturally leaning it?
It's kind of,
is it a thing?
Got my mood over there.
Yeah. Would it be more if you were standing up?
I think if you're standing, and especially if you kind of lean it that way, I think. I mean, they're great guitars, right? I can't decide. Me and Taylor were talking about this before you arrived. These fret markers, which are long.
Ooh. Isn't that what that you? Okay, show that to camera.
Okay.
Because that you wouldn't almost certainly associate with seeing it on the front of the fretboard with just a dot on the side, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But they've almost put the inlay that you might get on the front on the side.
And I have a feeling that kind of
that wasn't on the Dreadnought.
No, because the Dreadnought's a bit more traditional in its kind of aesthetics and styling. And I have a feeling on stage that would be really useful having the big markers.
You know what? It doesn't. I don't know what the right word is. It doesn't feel distracting or somehow. It certainly doesn't make it any more complicated to work out where all your important frets are. It's very difficult because I don't know how many guitar stores are going to carry a range like Furch. I suspect not as many as you'll see carrying Taylor or something like that. But the attention to detail on the build is exquisite. I know I've said it before, but you don't even really need to be a guitar expert to hold something like this up and just go like, wow, just as a piece of woodworking. That is super clean. It's done really well, and I like the black binding on it. I like the simpler kind of the finish on them, and I think the open pore finish is really good. It's open pore all the way up the back of the neck as well. So this is the Blue Range OMMM, which I believe means mahogany top, mahogany back and sides, which would so that's
make sense.
Almost like a 15 series kind of Martin.
Almost,
isn't it?
Yeah, but it's the kind of African mahogany, so it's a bit lighter.
Taylor, yeah,
not real mahogany.
But in blue, so we're still talking about satin finished guitars, which is why the price between blue and violet isn't terribly different.
Satin, kind of open pore finish. This has got the Stage Pro Element pickup system again, but yeah. Nice OM size. It's got some kind of slightly different binding, this slightly tortoiseshell binding.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a nice guitar.
It's very interesting, isn't it? I mean, this is just me being entirely talking about the aesthetics. That type of mahogany has got almost like a flame element in the way the streaks go through the wood.
Yes.
But I do think I kind of just prefer the slightly more redder brown traditional.
I do.
I don't know if the camera will pick this up, but as you just literally tilt it, you'll see the you'll see the grain in the wood doing that flamey thing.
Kind of
it's very
shimmery
pretty.
thing. It is. I mean, it's nice wood.
I
and
want
it's
to make
nicely
it
done.
dirtier, I think, just to sort of, I don't know if you
Yeah.
could get some of that Monty's relic wax or whatever and just, put 2 or 3 coats of that on it just to try and darken it down a bit. I bet you could, because it's open
I mean, you
pore,
could.
right?
I'm not sure it'd be recommended, but you could. You could. I really like the rosette on this one because it's it's very subtle, but really kind of just classily done, I'd say. But yeah, it would be nice if it maybe a couple of shades darker, but gig it a bit.
I love the smell of sort of like a wood factory.
Yeah.
It's really, really nicely done. I mean, look at the that's a 2-piece back, right? You've got to get your magnifying glass out to see the join.
Yeah. Before we move on to the others, this is the other blue guitar that we have in stock. This has got a cedar top. This is the MC Blue GCCM SPE. So
Catchy.
Yes, exactly. It has the Stage Pro element. Pickup system again. Yeah.
So that's a cedar top, though, isn't
It's
it?
a cedar
rather than
top.
a spruce top.
I like a cedar top. I think
it's
it's softer, but
It's funny that the only range that I remember from bygone years doing, like a spruce or a cedar top versions was Takamine used to. A lot of those old EN
really?
guitars that were popular were cedar top.
this has got the cutaway again. Everything, all the finish is fantastic on all of these.
Cool.
Yeah,
Right.
really nice.
Okay.
The yellow range is the next one, if we're moving up in price.
Yes, indeed. And that's quite a jump, isn't it, price yellow-wise?
It is a fair jump. And
So
we're
we're-
moving into the kind of gloss finishes.
Yeah, so we're now talking about probably your sort of $2,000 and upwards, which, let's
give
pop
you
this back. I suppose, again, let's talk about relative pricing. Still $2,000, $2 to sort of $3,000 if you're
Yeah.
going Martin or Taylor. Yes, you're getting an all solid guitar, all American built at that price point, but it's not the posh ones yet, is it? So it
No,
almost
very much
feels like
not.
now you can have a posh Furch for the same kind of dough as a sort of a simple looking Martin or Taylor.
I would say so. And these have got, this is the yellow with the cedar. That's a cedar top, I think, isn't it, that one? So this, the obvious things on here is it's a full pore gloss finish. So it's been filled, and it's got this UV gloss finish, the very hard lacquer that they developed. And it's got the abalone inlays, the clear pick guard, the more elaborate kind of inlay work around the edges, binding on the back. It's got this centre seam. It's, it's kind of aesthetically, everything's taken up a notch. All solid woods, again, the CNR joint.
I wasn't sure. This is an entirely subjective thing, but one of the things that I think Taylor did magnificently was the naming convention of the guitars. 100 series, 200 series, 300 series, 400. If it's a 12, it's this shape. If it's a 14, it's another shape. It's like, thank you. And of course, Martin is not as simple, 18s and 28s and 35s and OMs and triple O's. But I have to say, I think the yellow, blue, deluxe, orange, rainbow, that's going to take some...
I think
getting used to.
When you hear them explain it, it seems like they wanted to simplify it, but now you have the yellow range, which then has kind of 17 letters after each model to tell you what it's about. But
and who decided that one colour is better than another?
Well,
the
I
most
don't know.
subjective argument in the world.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, look, so we've heard you play.
Yes,
that's a cedar top. Yellow standard range.
Yeah, and these all have the LR bags, a pickup system which you adjust in here rather than having it cut out on top.
Yellow Deluxe. I mean, I'm assuming we're just getting these extra cuts.
The duo bevel, yeah. So the bevel is done partially by hand and partially by 3D printing somehow. I'm not sure how.
Wow.
But yeah, so that's the duo bevel.
I wonder if it's the bit of veneer that's almost got to go on top. This sort of black veneer that would be sort of 3D printed and put over the sculpted wood.
Yeah, and it's got the more elaborate inlays on the neck and the kind of the nicely buttoned tuners.
All the bevels are wood underneath, though. Whatever they've kind of coated this with, or finished it with, you can see the wood through the other side.
Yeah,
it's super neat.
Yeah, the finish inside and out on these is really nice.
Oh, cross. So you've got yellow standard, yellow deluxe, and yellow dark.
Well, the dark yellow is this. This is, I think, the only guitar I've ever played which is all rosewood.
Can I just?
So it's a rosewood top on there.
I got this. It's marginally heavier, isn't it? Because that's when you pick up a all solid rosewood Telecaster. It's like whoa.
Yeah. So it's and I've got to say I was pleasantly surprised. I think it's in Dadgad.
We've sold and stocked loads of guitars that look like that in the past, where they've just done a veneer over the top of a laminate sort of. But yeah, an all actual solid rose. I don't think I've ever seen one before.
No, me either. And it's got a tonal thing that it's kind of that piano-esque. And it could do with a bit of playing to loosen it up, but I think once it's had a few, a couple hundred hours on it, it'll really, really open up nicely.
Is it like a different piece of rosewood on the front and the back, or is
it? No, I mean it's a really cool looking guitar, It's I don't know if it's
The abalone sets off the rosewood nicely, doesn't
I
it?
like
round
and I
the,
really like these circular fret
Yeah.
markers on the side, and it's got the long fret markers on the side that you're looking at. Really
Beautiful.
nicely done. Really nicely
Really,
done.
I think we're up into hard cases on everything, aren't we? When you get up to this sort of price point.
Yeah, Hiscox cases, which are great.
I think you mentioned there were a couple of colours that we don't stock, and I've just got a
Yes.
very basic.
There
so
is-
green says it's in between blue and yellow, so it's a gloss.
Gloss top, satin back and sides, I think.
Fine. Red is it says here it's the pinnacle,
Exotic woods.
and then rainbow is complete, like their custom shop.
Yeah,
So you
basically.
go, I would like this, please, and someone at Furch goes, no problem.
Yeah, that's exactly
like
it.
10-year waiting list and £1 million or whatever.
Exactly. So the only ones we've not looked at are these vintage spec ones from the
So
vintage.
the vintage
range.
ones are easy to spot because they've got the square headstock.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for that. I've just seen the tuners, the tuning keys and everything. I like that a lot.
Have you the binding on the back in the middle?
Although, in all fairness, this is just heritage kind of, you know, do you want a D28 or do you want a copy of a D20? It's not trying to be anything other than...
No, it's fairly obvious where its inspiration lies,
Yeah.
and it is it's a Canon.
Now, before I give the editing team a load of stuff to cut out of this, is that a vintage 2D SRA?
This is a vintage 2D SR.
Wow. So that's under £2,000.
Yeah.
So that's almost half what the Martin equivalent would cost you.
I mean, it's rosewood back and sides, mahogany neck, spruce top,
Wow.
herringbone inlay. I mean, it's a good, it's a great guitar.
That is
And it's
spectacular.
Goto tuners.
Is there no pickup in it?
There's no pickup in this one. The vintage ones
You could
we've
spec
got
it, I guess.
don't have it. I mean, there's this one. There's the OM here, which is also really nice. This is the gloss finish one. The OM is kind of more satin.
Yeah, because
finish.
that OM, because it's the satin finish one, is again back down at the sort of 1,200-1,300 mark.
Now that is a bargain.
I agree. Oh man,
That's like
I would never ever have put 1999. If you'd have gone, how much you think that is?
yeah.
That's exceptional. Really, really exceptional.
And yeah, this one spruce, mahogany, but the
I'd want
Great.
this series in that shape.
So
gloss with the herringbone.
That would be very, very cool.
Yeah, which I presume they do, right?
I think they do. Yeah. I mean, you know, like I said, we've just got a selection of their most popular ones, but they do a lot more models in every series. First time playing them today, I'm very impressed. Very impressed.
I have to say, it's no surprise whatsoever that this is one of the fastest growing brands in the world, because it's such an interesting proposition in that it really is competing with some of the very best American-made acoustic guitars that I've ever seen.
Yes.
At, you know, a little bit more than an Asian-made guitar, but not radically.
And
good stuff.
No tariffs.
Yeah, let's not go there, ladies and gentlemen. I thought we'd managed to do a whole video without using the T word.
And their logo is very, very similar to the logo of the hip hop band I used to play in, which really...
Really?
Yeah.
Is that the one you got tattooed on your left butt cheek?
Yeah, that's the one.
Absolutely. Excellent. Okay, thank you so much for joining us. Please like and subscribe. Thank you, Mr. Ben.
Pleasure.
See you in the next video. Bye-bye.